Alright, yes, this is a bad movie, and I know everyone hated it when it first came out. But I think this film is truly interesting because it took so much to even get this film to see the light of day, and I believe it has some interesting ideas. So let's look at Puli. But before we do that, let's get a little context as to how this movie was even made. So, the earliest reference I can find for this film was in January of 2011. This was supposed to be a fantasy film that was set in the 12th century BC and was initially supposed to star Dhanush. No symbol? No, Dhanush. And it was supposed to be called Marichan. Interestingly, this was also the year that Rajamouli announced his production of Bahubali. And the reason I bring this up is because actually Puli and Bahubali came out at the same time, but we know how that turned out. So while Bahubali continued forward, Marichan also appeared to be moving forward. The production continued, sets were being erected, and a myriad of names were signed on along with Dhanush, including Hansika, Janelia, and even the Vaigai Puyal himself, Vadivelu. So the movie chugged along, even getting G.V. Prakash Kumar and Kadir as composer and cinematographer. But there was one small problem: money. It was money. I know, shocker. So initially, director Simbudevan had given this production an estimated budget of 30 crores, but UTV was not interested in spending that kind of money. I couldn't find any particular reason for this. I mean, they had agreed to this budget earlier.
Earlier, yes, earlier.
But I do know that UTV was going through a bit of a rough patch in 2011, so that might have been the reason for this sudden change of heart. Still, even with this setback, Marichan bounced back pretty quickly, getting a new producer on board, Oscar Ravichandran, and things seem to be moving along. Wow. So, not a single piece of information, and shooting is supposed to start in December. Let's see here. The last thing I can confirm about this movie is from October 29th of 2011, and it isn't even a confirmation on whether or not Hansika is going to be in the movie. The best I could find about shooting was this very questionable blog that just said shooting was gonna start soon. So basically, no new news came out about Marichan, and it fell into the abyss, never to be heard about again. The year is 2015. There's a new fantasy film announced by Simbudevan starring Vijay. And what's it called? That's right, Marichan. But this is actually where things start to get muddy. So I've seen a lot of articles speculating about whether or not this was the same script that was given to Dhanush like so many years ago. And there's not that much clarity here. I even saw some producers outright denying it in some interviews, saying that we haven't chosen the title yet, but it's definitely not Marichan because Simbudevan wanted that title for Dhanush. That project was shelved. We are still in the process of finding the apt one. And 3 days before the release of Puli, Simbudevan said, Puli was scripted keeping Vijay sir in mind, and hence there wasn't any change needed in the script after Vijay was signed. So, was the script for the two movies the same? I don't know. I never saw any interviews or articles confirming or denying this. The closest I got to this was an interview from VFX head Kamalakannan saying that he basically got involved in this project as early as 2011 to tell Simbudevan what the estimate on such a VFX movie would be. I even tried asking ChatGPT and that didn't get me anywhere. Hey, you guys remember Bahubali? Where do you think they are now in 2014? Oh, they've started filming? Well, where's Puli? Oh, we haven't even decided on a composer yet. Oh, so first you decided to go with A.R. Rahman, but then that was denied and it turned out to be Devi Shri Prasad. Even the title wasn't something they had for themselves. It was initially given to S.J. Surya because he had an idea for a movie with Vijay and they had to ask him, request him to give it to them. Well, at least things have finally calmed down and they are making a movie. So with this much build-up and potentially half a decade of planning, this movie should be really good, right? Well, this movie was a critical failure. Most people felt that the film was awful and it brought nothing to the table. In fact, this clip from Sudeep talking about his experience with the film pretty much says it all.
So out and out villain again after many years because consistently they kept asking, I accepted Puli. நான் பண்ணேன் அதுக்கப்புறம் நீங்க தானே எனக்கு வீட்டுக்கு அனுப்பிட்டீங்க நான் என்ன பண்றேன் சார்
So, what went wrong? Well, from the looks of it, pretty much everything. And since this is the internet, let's make a list. So from almost every interview I saw for this film, most of the actors and the people working on the movie seem to be aligned on the fact that this is a family entertainer movie. So it's supposed to be comedic and funny and good for, pretty much everyone. The problem is that the trailers don't show this at all. So if you look at the trailers or teasers for this movie, you'll notice that most of them talk about Vijay, this great hero who's gonna come and save everyone. But the comedy is not even highlighted in the trailer at all. So anybody who's... I'm recording.
Are you filming?
Yeah.
Are you reviewing Puli?
Yeah.
Is it positive?
Yeah.
No! I give up. I'm done.
Wait, do you want my hammer still?
Goodbye.
I forgot entirely what I was saying. Right, the right, the marketing. Yeah, so what was I saying? Basically anybody who didn't have an 8-year-old in their arms would have probably been really confused, by the fact that they're in this comedy family entertainer movie. I understand that Simbudevan is known for his comedy, so of course there might be some comedy elements in this film, but that doesn't mean anything if you don't put it in the trailers. Alright, I know this is the part that most people give this film like a lot of flack with, but I truly believe that there are some interesting concepts in here that, with some changes could become a potentially good movie. Because the concept itself is really interesting. I mean, a story about a ragtag group of humans, going against like these fantastical forces is an interesting idea. And I truly believe you can do something good with such a script, even if it is a movie that doesn't take itself too seriously. No, not that one. The other one. Right, there we go. Thank you. So it starts with interesting title sequence. Didn't expect it to be so bare bones. Oh, what the fuck? This is awesome! So sorry, guys. I think I downloaded the wrong Puli. Let's try that again. So it starts with an animated narrational segment, which honestly, man, I'm so tired of these things. Why do all of these movies have to start with like a narration? I get that it's kind of like the story is being told to us, but why do they all have to start like this? Why not just throw us in there? It's fine. It's fine to do that. I get that it might be a little bit confusing, but we are literally walking into like a montage of our star Maridhiran growing up. So why not just put all of these elements in there? I mean, seriously, what did this animation segment tell us? That it takes place a long time ago? I feel like the visual cues are pretty obvious with that one. That the Vedalams are a group of superhuman invaders. Again, I feel like the visual cues, along with maybe some dialogue between like the sister and her younger brother talking about how they should stay away from the Vedalams, should have introduced us to that these people have a kingdom that's up north that helps them with things every once in a while. Again, I feel like this is pretty easy to show in the movie. Just have the Vedalams from the north coming to visit or something like that, and they pass through the village. That this village doesn't like being headed by the Vedalams. Again, I feel like visual cues can make this pretty obvious. Now, I do like the animation. It's pretty good. But I just feel like we're already walking into an exposition dump. So why add to the misery by bringing this contrived plot device? I feel like it doesn't add anything. Anyway, according to this montage, there's a kid and a bird. They grow up to become more and more curious of their surroundings, and clearly whose questions already could help the viewers understand what's going on in the movie. Sorry, I'm getting charged up. Right, what was the question again? That why the Vedalams ill-treat them? Alright, stupid narration aside, this scene is actually pretty effective in showing why everyone's so afraid of, these rulers. I think that it does a good job of setting the atmosphere without, making things too over the top until what is that? What the hell is that completely takes away from any fear you could possibly have of these things? I mean, seriously, these things could be coming at me, trying to kill me, and I'd probably die of laughter before they even touch me because of that stupid roar. Holy shit. We're now in the title sequence. I feel like we've been here for hours. So boy meets girl, falls in love, the standard thing. But there's a few problems with this setup in this movie. First of all, it appears that these two are like childhood sweethearts. But the problem is that, Pavramali leaves just in the beginning of the movie to go stay at her uncle's place. And it's clearly been like at least a decade since that happened, because this is what she looks like when she leaves, their village. So do these two even like each other? I mean, there's like years of character development that they've both missed out on with each other. What's the guarantee that now they suddenly love each other again? And the thing is that I don't even think that they know each other when they come back, because this is the last interaction that they have before they get married.
ஆமா, நான் மட்டும் இல்லை, 3 குழந்தைகளையும் சேர்த்து தயார் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கேன். என்னாச்சு?
இல்ல, உங்களுக்கு குழந்தைங்க இருக்காங்களா?
Do you have Does she even know this guy? Why is she getting married to him? And this really isn't helped by the fact that the flirting in this movie doesn't make any sense. Like, this is supposed to be an alternate version of India, right? Then what the fuck is this dialogue?
கேரளத்து பெண்களோட உடை மாதிரி முழுசும் திறக்காமலும், மராட்டிய பெண்களோட உடை மாதிரி முழுசும் மூடாமலும், சேலை கட்டின தமிழ் பெண்கள் மாதிரி திறந்தும் திறக்காமலும் மூடியும் மூடாமலும் இருக்கணும்.
There are many ways in which women wear saris in Tamil Nadu, but none of them is this. Added to that is the fact that the relationship between Madhudevan and Pauramali is basically built on a lie. So when Pauramali is coming back to the village after many years, she voices this concern that she thinks that, she wants someone who's brave. So what does Madhudevan do? Orchestrate a fight with the Vedalams, like fake Vedalams, to pretend like he is brave and strong. Which brings us to the next problem in this movie. Why is Madhudevan this village's greatest hero? When Pauramali gets kidnapped by the Vedalams, the village head immediately is like, oh, you're the greatest one of us, Madhudevan. You're the only one who can go and save her. Like, I understand that she is his wife, so it kind of makes sense to go with him. But I don't feel like he has any prowess in fighting. So even with the magical serum thing that they just throw at you without any establishment in this film, I still don't believe that this man can actually fight. I mean, seriously, these are the fights that we've seen in this movie so far. Number 1, a stone throwing incident that his sister took the fall for, which consequently ended up in her dying. A chase scene which ends with him falling at his opponent's feet, and a fake fight scene that was meant to make him look good. Why would anybody think that he is talented enough to go and save someone? Why not just instead make Vembunathan a revolutionary? I mean, he's clearly trying to help this community become more adept and save them from the Vedalams. So why not just go all the way? That would explain why his adoptive son actually has, the prowess or the fighting prowess to take out these guys. And it also makes sense not to whisk Pauramali away from the village, but instead keep her there so that, the two leads can actually bond. And also just get rid of this.
என் அப்பா எனக்கும் என் முறை பையனுக்கும் அவசரமா கல்யாணம் ஏற்பாடு பண்ணிட்டு இருக்காரு.
It adds nothing to the movie, and the uncle and the cousin or whatever don't even show up in the film, because they just get married and that is all. Maybe instead of just introducing this miracle potion to us halfway through the movie, have somebody work on it throughout the film, maybe as part of the revolution. And it should be somebody we know, so I would give that job to Pauramali. Why don't they just make her like the local doctors apprentice, and she's working on this potion to unlock humans' full ability so that they can fight just as strong as, the Vedalams. And, the rest of the movie can still go the same way. The one time after the couple gets married, they're chilling and then they laugh, wondering why these people are dressing up as Vedalams, because they already do dress up on the regs like that, but it doesn't make sense because there was no plan today. Hearing this, the real Vedalams obviously get upset and they destroy the village and kidnap Pavaramali. And now it's up to our hero to go and save his wife, and he is aware that this potion exists. It's just that he knows that his wife is still working on it and it's incomplete, so it only allows you to be a demon for 8 minutes. Continue on with the plot, except this time we care about the main couple and we know that the lead is not an incompetent tool. So Maridhiran goes on this seemingly open-ended hunt to find this elder named Machakudan, because he's the only one who knows how to get into the Vedalam castle. And as they're doing that, they find this tribe who actually knows the him very well, so they're able to reach him much quicker. And now armed with a very questioning riddle, they still are not 100% sure how to get to the castle, but miraculously they end up meeting the commander and the princess of the Vedalams, and so now they have a safe way in. Which once again brings us to one of the biggest problems in this movie. I don't feel like a lot of the problems that the leads go through in this movie are problems. So, he can't find this Machakudan guy. Oh, we'll introduce you to this tribe that are best buds with him. Oh, you don't know the way to the castle? Don't worry, your Lilliput buddies know about Google Maps the Frog and he'll lead you there. Oh, you're still lost? Well, no worries, the princess and the commander of the castle will lead you safely in. Am I crazy, or do I think that problems should be problems? Is it just me? I just feel like he should struggle a little. Maybe instead of having him go on this open-ended hunt, give him a map, and he could still meet the Lilliputians in the process, but just let him go on the hunt, find the cave that looks like somebody's house, and then let him be surprised on his own about the fact that it's actually eternal. Maybe if you're going to come up with a book that these Lilliputian guys have, maybe let it have more information than just one side gag. Also, what is this fight scene? Did they suddenly realize an hour in that, oh my god, the hero has not done anything cool, so they went with this? Maridhiran forgets his sword to save a screaming woman in a forest? Why not do that? Why not establish that this guy already is powerful and can fight before, so you could instead use this scene to show the strength of Vedalams, show the strength of the potion. If they can fight panthers with their bare hands, that is an insane amount of strength. And it makes perfect sense why humans can't defeat them. I get that this is a Vijay movie and they're trying to show all these cool things that Vijay can do. But quite literally think about it objectively, right? If Vijay can fight Black Panthers with his bare hands, then what could the demons possibly throw at him that is more powerful than that? So they meet the Yavana Rani and... Hold on a second, why are her eyes brown? I thought that all the demons had blue eyes. That was a huge thing they made out of it. I guess you could argue that maybe it's because, she's the queen, or because of the twist in this movie or whatever. But we see other demons with brown eyes in the movie. So, What is going on? Why did they make such a big deal about the blue eyes? See, it's things like this that make this film an object of scrutiny. So they meet Yavanarani and manage to convince her that they're just apothecaries here to help them with medicine making. And with the help of their tiny Lilliput friends, they're able to find out that the castle has a sacrificial chamber, and all the ladies that they end up kidnapping, they kill. Now, this is one of the ideas in this movie that I actually like. So during, their espionage attempts, they realized that it might be too dangerous to have this like Vedalam potion just sitting in their bag in like a vial. So what they do is that they replace the contents of the vial with water and put the potion in a pouch below in their little carry bag. And in one of their expeditions to find out more information, to save his wife, they run into a crisis in the castle. A Cyclops escapes from prison and, threatens to destroy everything. And during this crisis, Maridhiran is like, okay, I can do this, I can save the day. And he drinks from the vial, but the vial only has water. And still, he is able to stop the Cyclops. I think this, placement of questioning his identity is very well done. It's perfectly paced, it's placed well in the film, and it really gives us kind of an idea of, oh, who is this guy? How can he do that? Granted, we already know he is special because he can wrestle with Black Panthers, with his bare hands, but it's still a good concept to put in the film. I also like this character that Vijay, has for Maridhiran. He's kind of flirty with the princess, and I know it gets a little over the top, but I like that he's trying to corner her and coax some information out of her as soon as her guard slips. I also really like the main villain now. I think that they've done a good job of establishing that something is very weird about this castle, and he seems to be kind of a slimy character. I've also mostly forgotten about the road from before, and that definitely helps. But they do undermine him a little with the 15 fucking fans that they have on around him at all times. Like, what are we doing here? Are we trying to shoot a Pantene ad?
क्या आपका शैम्पू हर वॉश में ड्राइनेस और हेयर फॉल से लड़ सकता है? It's Pantene possible.
So they're starting another espionage attempt, and wait a minute, that is the same vial. That is the same vial as before, but you said that they switched it. How is he supposed to know the difference between water and, potion if you do that? Like, if you put them in the same vial. See, if you edit the shot out like this, maybe we won't think about these things, and you can get away without making a second vial. Honestly, I think they just forgot that plot point, like very frankly, because there's a scene where he's tried, for the crimes of investigating the castle, and in that scene they make this whole thing about how he survives this 500-degree like metal tube walking through it, right? And they use the same vial to make the point there. How does that happen? Look, guys, you have to edit this stuff out of the movie if you don't want us to point these things out. I get that some of the drama is lost if you do that, but you literally had his life flash before his eyes. I'm gonna say there's enough drama. You either have to cut the shot or you have to make a second vial. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Pick one. I'm sorry, that's how it is. So anyway, here's the big twist in this movie.
இந்த இலைய உன் படுக்க விரிப்புல பார்த்தேன். இதை நான் சின்ன வயசுலேருந்தே சாப்பிட்டுட்டு இருக்கேன்.
இது என்ன பண்ணும் தெரியுமா? உன் உடம்புல உள்ள அதீத சக்தியை கட்டுப்படுத்தி வெளியே சாதாரண மனுஷனா காட்டக்கூடிய அபூர்வ மூலிகை.
அப்போ நான் ஒரு வேதாளமா?
ஆமாம், நீ வேதாளமே தான்.
So one of the castle dhobis, spills the beans to Maridhiran and tells him how his dad is actually Pulivendan, the original prince of this castle, and how he was killed by the commander. He also tells him that the commander has cursed the queen and basically made her into his puppet. Now this is one of the parts that truly confuses me. Like, I'm not sure how Mr. Washing Machine knows all this. Like, he seems old enough to actually have been there when Pulivendan was like in the castle, and he also could have like witnessed the tragedy with his own eyes. All that stuff is definitely possible, but like, how does he know about the other stuff? Why would he know about like the commander puppeteering the queen and stuff like that? Like, that's not information he has access to. Why not instead get that information from someone else? Like maybe the princess. Like, she's clearly enamored with Maridhiran, so maybe she tells him, like she shares the investigation she's been doing because she actually has access to the places where this information could be. Why not get it from one of Jaladharangan's men? Just beat him to a pulp and they'll tell you the answer. Yes, I'm aware that like the washerman overhears this conversation between Jaladharangan and his evil like witch man that he like uses to help get all his schemes done. But like, that doesn't make any sense, because first of all, why are these two repeating their whole evil plan in its entirety to each other when they probably already know the plan? And second of all, what the hell is this guy doing in the middle of the forest? Is this like dude that's like a sage of some sort getting his laundry done? And that's how we'll take over the world. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I have your laundry. Oh yes, thank you. Let me see here. Feathered cape, underwear. Did you say you were taking over the world? Never mind that. Thank you, my good sir. Here's your pay and my next load. Same time next week? Yup, I'll see you then. The part that's especially baffling to me is that they made Vijay play like the son and the father in this movie. Now, I presume this is to establish the fact that, the Dhobi is able to recognize Maridhiran as Pulivendan's son. But it does make me question like how Jaladharangan didn't make that connection. Does he have that severe face blindness that he doesn't recognize the guy who nearly ruined his plans to take over the kingdom? How is that possible? Like, I guess they could have maybe made up for this by, not having him kill his dad, because then, it would have been like, oh, okay, I guess he sent his men to kill him. So even if he had met Pulivendan, it was probably years ago, before he decided to like go on exile or whatever. So it's like, yeah, you could argue then, but as it is, it just is a giant big hole. Added to this, I really don't like that there's an exposition dump about 30 minutes before the movie ends. Like, maybe if they had not spent so much time dinking around in the beginning of the movie, they could have gone to the castle sooner, and then all this information could have been told to us, before, and they could have added these pieces of information in between so we could piece together the mystery ourselves, instead of having this like giant exposition dump at the end. I just feel like that would have been a lot better, And I get that's a little problematic when I said that there isn't enough chemistry between Vijay and Shruti Hassan. But I don't feel like that's what wasted time for me. This is what wasted time.
ஒருவேளை வானத்துல இருந்து குதிப்பாளோ? குதிச்சிட்டா. உப்பனை அதிகமா போட்டுக்கிற இந்த ஓவியம் யாரு?
நான் தான் மாமா, உங்க அத்தை பொண்ணு தாரகமங்கலம்.
நீ தாரக இல்ல. தாமரை.
So maybe just cut all this stuff out. Don't let it be like a huge part of your movie, and maybe you feel like you've put together something more cohesive that we can actually understand, instead of just having somebody say everything and explain the movie to us like this is a lecture. Anyway, it's all leading up to this. Maridhiran has to slay the evil commander and save the queen so he can help the kingdom regain its freedom. Alright, and I have to give this movie some points here. The fighting in this film is super awesome. They got some of the best action choreographers for this movie, so it makes sense that it looks so good. But even then, I really want to say that this is one of my favorite parts of this film. So yeah, Maridhiran slays all the baddies, and he saves the queen and saves the day, and everyone lives happily ever after. Right? Wrong! As I said before, Simbudevan is a director known for his comedy. But I'm sorry, he didn't do comedy in this movie. I noticed a trend with a lot of his films that are actually funny to me, and that is that the leads in those movies are like comedians themselves. So people like Padivelu and Santanam and Raghavendra Lawrence, even Prakash Raj, are people who can all do things that are funny. And even if they are like, people who aren't typically known for their comedy, they are still very adept at presenting these actions in ways that could make an audience laugh. This movie, however, has Vijay. And look, I like Vijay. I think he can do comedy. I really find him funny in movies like Gilly, and even in like movies where comedy isn't like the main focus. He still does a good job with, making people laugh. The issue is that Vijay is a boxed role. People expect him to do cool things, or else, the movie won't run. When you get to a movie like this, he can't do all of the jokes. He has some funny moments, but a lot of the weight has to be carried by the side actors. The side actors are useless from most plot standpoints except comedy, and that is not a good way to make a movie. I really, really don't like the supporting characters in this, Kodangi and Sama. He picks them on a whim to, help him on this giant quest, and they don't have any experience in this. So the only thing that they do is make scrappy jokes and question why they're here to literally save someone's life. Why not just have them volunteer? Maridhiran's reason to risk going after the Vedalams is baked into the film. They killed his dad and kidnapped his wife. So of course, he wants to go and save them. But Kodangi and Sama don't have that at all in the movie. So it's actually really awful, in fact, for Kodangi, because he just got married and now he can't, spend time with his wife because he's being taken on this crazy quest. Honestly, the only one who has real motivation to go on this quest is Suran, and consequently, he is also the only useful one in this quest. Instead of doing all this, why not just have them volunteer? In that case, it would actually be even more noble of Kodangi to go because he was just married. And I get having some elements, of him missing his wife, but that's literally the only joke they do with this man. It's not funny then. Added to this, the jokes don't even make sense. Like this joke.
அம்மா சொன்னாங்க உன் மாமனுக்கு மூக்கு கீழே ஒரு மீசை மூக்குக்கு மேல ஒரு மீசைன்னு. உலகத்திலேயே ஒத்தைக்கு ரெட்டையா மீசை வச்சிருக்கிற தைரியம் என் மாமனை தவிர வேற யாருக்கு வரும்?
I've been sitting here forever trying to figure out what this joke is. Is it that, he's not masculine and it's funny that he's trying to overcompensate for it with two mustaches? That is very poorly explained. The only things I know about this man are that he loves his wife and he doesn't like licking frogs. both of those things seem perfectly normal to me. So why is he not masculine?
தம்பி ராமையா சாருக்கு வந்து அவர் வந்து ஒரு ஒரு கொஞ்சம் ஏஜ் ஆகியும் கல்யாணமாகாத ஒரு ஆள் அப்படிங்கிற மாதிரி ஒரு கேரக்டரு. அப்போது யோசிச்சுட்டு அவருக்கு அந்த ஃபஸ்ட்டு அந்த மீசை, நான் ஃபஸ்ட்டு மேலே தலையில் மட்டும் ஒரு மீசை வச்சுருந்தேன். அப்போ சிம்பு சார் தான் சொன்னார், இல்லை முகத்துலேயும் மீசை வச்சு 2 மீசையாக இருந்தால் நல்லாயிருக்கும் அப்படிங்கிற மாதிரி. அப்படி வச்சு தான் அந்த மீசை இது பண்ணோம்.
When you put it like that, it almost seems like there was no thought put into this. Is this like some kind of you had to be there joke? Because there is no retelling of the story that is funny. Ironically, some of the like actually serious moments were way funnier to me than the comedic scenes.
உங்க கடமை தான ராணிமா, சொல்லுங்க.
I don't think the problem that this movie has is that they were trying to make a family entertainer. There's plenty of age-appropriate comedies and action movies that actually are entertaining to a broader audience. And that's because those movies have thoughtful writing. Like, for instance, I can rewatch Samurai Jack even now, and that's not because I think that, it's just nostalgic for me, but it's also because the writing is genuinely good and I can appreciate it even as an adult. And that's true of the funny moments as well. You should feel something when you're watching movies, and all I feel when I listen to the jokes in this movie is
the most important film of this year, and it's your big film. What is the feeling now?
Now, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this movie, because even if the story and the comedy and all these things worked for you and you weren't like hit with the tonal whiplash of the marketing of this film, the production itself is very inconsistent. Some of the scenes are really bad looking, but it's not always the case, because there are some things that are really well done in this movie. Like, the castle interiors are really pretty to me, and I like the fact that the scorpion theme is kind of maintained throughout the Vedalam kingdom, to the point where it's even on like the armors of these soldiers. I really like that. I also really like the animals in this movie. A lot of them look very well done, like the turtle. Added to this, like things like the Lilliputians were kind of like really well done. I didn't even realize that there were CGI elements on the king and queen until I rewatched this movie after like listening to interviews about it. And it's not just that, the actors also like know where the Lilliputians are in the movie usually. Where are you looking? He shot you from the opposite direction. But even then, most of the time, the actors kept the markers, that they placed for them in mind and did a good job with the Lilliputians. But like with everything in this movie, the CGI is not 100%. This movie switches around a lot between like a set, the actual forest, and a studio with like a green screen. So it is kind of hard to tell where most of these scenes are from. I really like that they're switching around between these different sets and effects, because it gives our eyes less time to adjust to like a practical effect, and thus makes it more difficult for us to discern what's real and what's fake. This is exactly why a lot of Marvel movies become an eyesore very quickly, because most of the film is done in front of a green screen, and it becomes really easy to figure out what was done by some poor, overworked VFX guy. That's not the case with this movie for most of it, except you get to this point where you're just like, that is obviously an effect, right? Like, I'm not going crazy here. Like, it looks exactly like if supposing somebody attached a JPEG to the back of the film. Like if they maybe moved the background or something, it might have like helped, but as is, it looks pretty much exactly like a green screen effect, and it's so simple to do. I just did it. Also, there are some shots where the CGI fails entirely. Like this one, it looks like there's some kind of render error because the character is literally flashing in and out of existence. Or this scene where apparently they forgot about gravity. I think maybe they were trying to do it in slow-mo, but Vijay is moving normally, so what's going on? I don't think it's fair to say, oh, VFX art is dumb and, you know, they don't know how to do their job for everything. Because I don't think that every part of the VFX in this movie is bad. Like, you know, there are scenes within the castle, or even like, you know, the scenes in the towers where, you know, the background was all CGI, like the sky and stuff. All of that looks really good. Like, it looks amazing. So when the VFX artists were working to enhance like a set or do something with costumes that were already there, they did a pretty good job. It only starts to become problematic when they try to create everything on the screen. So I looked into the production of this movie, and it turns out that the VFX people had about 8 months, you know, to produce every single effect in this film. For context, the entire production of the Fred movie from beginning to release was 10 months. Okay? And Bahubali started production in 2011. Look, I know that like you could say, oh, these are not the same genre, Puli is more of an action comedy, whatever. That doesn't change the fact that VFX is VFX, okay? And typically animated movies take years to produce. Like, it's not just a one and done thing. So maybe if you can't afford to burn that much money on, like, you know, special effects, maybe come up with alternatives. Just a thought. The costumes in this movie are really pretty. I feel like the costuming department took a lot of effort in making everyone look very like not within any defined time. I really like the Yavanarani's looks. Like, every costume they made is absolutely brilliant. Obviously, it's elevated by Sridevi's performance, but the costumes and especially the makeup can tell you that there's something really off about her. Like, you can feel the Mad Queen-ness just from any still of this movie. But like, not everything is logical in the costume department. Like, for instance, I don't know how Power Money can afford all this jewelry and these clothes when she's like from a village that can't even pay their taxes on time. So like, I guess I thought maybe it was like, oh, it's Marudiran's POV, you know, it's supposed to tell us how beautiful she is. Like, I thought it was like an artistic decision, but she still wears pretty clothes even when she's not, like, you know, in his POV. So I guess it was really pretty, but not logical at all. But honestly, one of the biggest problems this movie has is continuity. Like, there's this scene towards the end where Jaladrangan and Marudiran are fighting each other, and you can see that, you know, both Jaladrangan and Marudiran have each other's swords in their right hand, and they're holding their own sword with their left. So our boy, the commander, tries to stab Marudiran more to try to get him to get his hands off the sword. And in the process, Marudiran bleeds. And then suddenly Jaladrangan manages to pull his sword out of Marudiran's hand, and in that shot you can see there's no blood on the right hand. And then after that, he gets him on his knees and tries to stab him, but then there's a cut, and suddenly now Marudiran and Jaladrangan are at eye level. And then in the next shot, somehow he's managed to stab Jaladrangan. What is happening? And now suddenly there's like blood on his hand again. Huh? What? I feel like I'm losing my mind trying to understand. what happened in that fight. And this is not the only continuity nightmare they had in this movie. Like, it's so obvious when they switch takes in this fight between Marudiran and Yavanarani, because look, the hood is now on, off, on, off. What the hell is going on? And like, where does the princess go in this fight scene? Like, some of the scenes I don't even feel like she's there, and she's just reacting on the side for some reason. Apparently Hansika and Shruti Hassan didn't have like any time together in this movie, so I can only assume that they did this like shoot on 2 different days, one day with Hansika and one day with Shruti. I mean, looking at the scene, it's pretty obvious that there's something off, but I didn't expect scheduling conflicts to be the reason for that. The thing that really bothers me about this production is not that it's bad or good, it's just that it's really rushed. Like, it doesn't look like they had time to make up for some mistakes if they made them. And it's also really obvious when they try to cover something up. Like this scene where Avedalam puts on his mask mid-fight so he can easily be replaced with a stunt double. Or like this scene, which they clearly turned into a night scene for no seeming reason except for the fact that it probably looked very bad, in the light. So now we can pretend we don't see anything. My absolute favorite fuck up is when Vijay throws this flaming log at a wicker doll during the Uttara Puja, and he doesn't even get close to the doll, and suddenly the next shot it's on fire. Like, I'm just gonna edit this to make it seem, less obvious, and you guys can let me know if it helps. I mean, honestly, this kind of thing doesn't even cost like much money, but somehow they forgot to see it in post, and now it's a glaring error for all of us to enjoy. Hearing the director talk about this film, I think it's pretty obvious that he also thinks that this movie was made on an unrealistic timeline. So I'm not really sure who to blame here. But what I can say is that if they had done some more homework, like decided what to do before switching on the camera and burning a bunch of money, I feel like they could have come up with a much better film that probably made a lot more sense. Well, thank you for listening to me ramble on about the movie that nobody cares about anymore. But, I really like the fantasy genre. And I don't even really hate this movie, which is sad because I feel like no fantasy film has come out, like a major one, in Tamil since then. And I don't think that's fair, because even if this film is not good, I still think it's a huge creative risk, and it should definitely be an inspiration for more directors to come out and try their own versions of Tamil fantasy. And honestly, it looks like it has. I mean, there's this new movie that's coming out with Surya in it, and it looks like it could be the same genre, right?